I'm not typically a person who gushes about relatable villains, but I really appreciate the Watcher's character because I, too, am incredibly late to this party.
I need to work on my timing.
Dead End Season 2 lived up to and exceeded all of my expectations for it. It's funny, it's heartfelt, and it has some of the best representation ever put on screen. But it's taken me forever to organize my thoughts about these 10 episodes. I was tempted to abandon this project altogether after editing several very frustrating drafts.
Well, I'm not immediately great at it, so I might as well give up.
This show's impromptu cancellation is what inspired me to overcome my writer's block, because this cartoon needs to be celebrated. And I hope my analysis of its overarching plot and themes does it a fraction of the justice it deserves.
Nerd.
Season 1 of Dead End is very character-centric. There's a central mystery to solve, but the show is more focused on developing its protagonists and their relationships with each other. Season 2's overarching plot is more prominent, with a significant chunk of episodes tying directly into one another. That's not to say that Season 2 lacks character development. One of my favorite episodes is Evil Twins Are People Too, because the variants of Barney, Courtney, and Norma reflect an approach to therapy I've previously covered called internal family systems. This concept postulates that our minds are made up of many unique sub-personalities, each with their own wants and goals for the primary self. No part is inherently bad, but we learn to suppress and vilify the parts of ourselves that feel inconvenient or frustrating. For Barney, it's his impulsivity. For Norma, it's being judgmental. And for Courtney, it's her sense of self-loathing. But we are not defined by our worst attributes. Such a conclusion would be incredibly reductive. And though we tend to shy away from our least favorite parts, they still have valuable insights to offer us.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but you did help me figure out some things. And you know what? I don't think you're evil twins.
Nah, you're just us.
I love that we get to see more of Logs and Badia. They feel like part of the main cast this time around, and their perspectives really enhance the show's core themes of queer identity and found family. The show also elaborates on a person's ever-evolving notion of authenticity. Barney embraces his wrestling identity, Norma grapples with coming out to her mom, and Courtney learns that the angels will always find a way to demonize her. So why bother following their asinine rules when she can just be herself? Also, here at this channel, we believe in gourd supremacy. Season 2 introduces several new characters who help to flesh out the world and develop our beloved theme park employees. The most interesting addition to the cast is Fingers, an angel from the fourth plane who has ulterior motives for training Pugsley. His design is particularly cool because certain religions see the right hand as a symbol for God's power and strength. His role as an antagonist was obvious, but as someone who grew up watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I always know better than to trust a sanctimonious organization run by people who refer to themselves as Watchers.
Bite me.
Yes. Well.
In order to sufficiently analyze The Watcher and the entire back half of Season 2, we need to discuss some of the logistics of time travel. I make a lot of jokes about the fact that I majored in English, but what I really should be poking fun of is my history minor, because one of the classes that counted towards it was, I kid you not, the history of time travel, and none of the information covered in that class will be appearing in this video. Higher education is a joke, and I am the punchline. Time travel as a concept is an interesting plot device, but a great story capitalizes on the various thematic implications of this trope, and Dead End Paranormal Park does this tremendously well. The three most common types of time travel in media these days are as follows: time loops, fixed timelines, and branching timelines. Each approach to the concept correlates with a different life philosophy, and these implicit philosophical fingerprints help to strengthen a story's theme. What's unique about Dead End Paranormal Park is that it plays with all three of these time travel concepts, and it succeeds in executing all of them at a high level.
How will I know?
What?
How will I know everything's gonna be okay?
You won't.
In episode 5 of Season 2, Pugsley traps everyone in a time loop, dooming them to repeat the same 15 minutes over and over again. He doesn't want his friends to fight or get their feelings hurt, but no matter how many things he changes, Pugsley can't craft the perfect scenario. Barney and Logs always fight, and Norma's confession to Badia goes poorly. Why is that? In a literal sense, shenanigans are ensuing, but if you compare and contrast this episode to other time loop stories, then there's something really interesting at play here. Movies like Groundhog Day and Edge of Tomorrow use time loops to prompt character development in their protagonists. Phil Connors and William Cage start out as self-centered jerks who grow into better men because the time loops provide a consequence-free zone to make mistakes and learn from them. They develop a deeper sense of empathy for the people around them, people that they would have previously written off as uninteresting or not worth their attention. In this sense, time loops have a lot in common with humanist philosophy, which emphasizes the potential of individuals and the inherent dignity of all people. One of humanism's key tenets, though, is a person's agency, the capacity to act. And by trapping Barney and Norma in a time loop, Pugsley is robbing them of their agency. They can't make different choices even if they wanted to because they don't have the luxury of hindsight.
I just want everyone to be happy.
But that's not life, Pugsley. Do you need permission? Okay, I give you permission to let me get hurt. Let my feelings get hurt. Not my bones and guts and stuff.
It's noble to try and shield your loved ones from the inevitability of pain, but they should always be allowed to make their own choices, even if you're not fond of the outcome.
You never had a choice. It was always meant to be.
Fixed timelines go hand in hand with the philosophy of predeterminism. Every event in the universe's history has already been decided in advance, which implies that you were always going to travel back in time. Some people find the notion of a pre-written script comforting. I am not one of those people. This philosophy essentially nullifies the power of our choices and capacity to change, and stories that implement fixed timelines without considering the deeper implications of a world entirely dictated by fate are vapid and uninteresting once the initial shock from the twist wears off. Dead End Paranormal Park expertly avoids this common thematic pitfall. During the season 2 finale, Barney travels back to the past to try and warn his previous self about the coming dangers, but he fails every time because the Watcher is hot on his heels. These 2 unexplained moments from season 1 are the results of his efforts.
Tell Pugsley not to trust Fingers. Don't let him put that hat on. Oh.
Most people would love the ability to redo a certain point from their past, myself included. It's a natural thing to want, but altering history is impossible. So what's Barney supposed to do? The answer can be found in his conversation with past Pugsley.
Can we take 5?
We can take 500. You're still not going to get it right.
Nothing is quite as burdensome as someone else's expectations for you. It's like measuring yourself with a yardstick that you can't read. Any mistakes you make are demonized, and your sense of self-worth literally warps from the intense pressure. The Watcher is a version of Pugsley who caved to Finger's influence and accepted the notion that he was merely a pawn in someone else's game. It's here where Barney realizes that his approach to this situation needs to change.
You're worth so much more than what he can get you to do. Don't listen to him.
Fingers? Why not?
Just a hunch.
The past is set in stone, but that's okay, because you can use hindsight to make better, more informed decisions in the future. And the future is whatever you decide it to be.
You're only one of Pugsley's possible futures. Oh, that's it!
My dad once said, "There is no such thing as a perfect movie." Wait, that's a lie. Back to the Future is flawless. Is he holistically correct? Maybe. Stuff like that is highly subjective. But from a philosophical standpoint, Back to the Future has one of the most optimistic approaches to time travel in cinematic history. Each change Marty makes to the past affects his family's future, creating different branches of reality in the process. This is existentialism at its finest. The choices we make play a crucial role in developing the universe, because, to quote Doc, your future isn't written yet. Fingers and the Angels have cut away every other possible branch for Pugsley's future in an attempt to curate a scenario where Pugsley has no other choice but to become the Watcher. But what he doesn't account for is Barney's unyielding love for his dog.
You've been manipulated by angels to fight a war that you don't believe in. But deep down, you're still a good boy. You are.
Fingers can cut away as many futures as he'd like, but he can never take Pugsley's sense of self or rob him of his ability to choose. And when faced with an impossible decision, Pugsley chooses to protect his best friend.
It doesn't have to be this way.
I know. I made a choice.
Pugsley's death made me tear up, but this is the line that reduced me to a sobbing heap.
How was Pugsley able to save me when I needed him most, but I couldn't do the same for him?
Roughly 1 month before this season came out, I lost Sugar, my childhood dog of nearly 18 years. I was still a walking raw nerve at that point, and it's part of the reason why it's taken me so long to make this video. Sugar was always just off stage left, sleeping in her bed while I wrote, recorded, and edited these little passion projects of mine. The bond between a person and their dog is uniquely special. Unconditional love is hard to find in this world, but it seems like second nature for dogs. I still have Rascal, and I love him dearly, but a part of me will always miss Sugar, just like a part of me will always miss Dead End. It's not fair that this show was canceled. It's not fair that the crew didn't get to finish telling their story, but we can't always control the situations imposed upon us. We can only control how we respond to them. Buy Hamish's graphic novels, continue to make fan art, and help me answer one of the most pressing questions known to mankind. Who would win in a fight, the Hootie-copter or the Courtney-copter? I eagerly await your responses. And please, don't let the fear of cancellation stop you from getting invested in other shows. If a piece of media speaks to you, love it as deeply as you can, because I can say with utmost certainty that being a fan of Dead End Paranormal Park has truly been the ride of a lifetime.